You never forget the moment you realize you're not really part of your own family anymore. It doesn't come like thunder. It's more like a cold, quiet wind that slips in when you're not looking, and before you know it, everything you thought was safe is gone. My name is Savannah Pierce, and this is the story of the day my own mother chose public image over her daughter.
It was a Tuesday.
I remember because I was folding laundry while my husband, Noah, made dinner, chili, his specialty. My phone buzzed. A text from my older sister, Meredith. Mom's 60th birthday dinner is next weekend. Black tie. RSVP if you're coming. No hi. No warmth. Just an invitation that felt more like a formal obligation. I hadn't been invited to a single family event in over a year. The last time I'd seen my mother, she barely hugged me. My father called Noah the help when he thought I couldn't hear. I stared at the screen for a full minute before I picked up the phone and called my mom directly. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe that she'd say Meredith was being Meredith, and of course I was welcome. Maybe even a touch of regret for how they'd treated me since the wedding. She answered on the third ring. Savannah, she said, her voice always clipped like she was in a boardroom. Hi, Mom, I said, trying to keep my tone light. I got Meredith's text. About your birthday dinner. There was a pause. A long one. I was going to call you, she said finally. Oh, it's just with how things have been and how formal the event is, and with Meredith coordinating everything, maybe it's better if you and Noah sit this one out. I didn't say anything at first. I felt something hot rise in my throat, but I swallowed it. Because we don't own tuxedos? I asked, forcing a laugh. It's not that, she said quickly. You know what people will say. Meredith invited the mayor's family. Clients of your father's. We wanted to go smoothly. Right, I said quietly. Wouldn't want your daughter to ruin things. There was another silence. And then, just like that, she changed the subject. Asked how I was. Said she had to go. Told me she hoped I understood. But I didn't. Not really. Because this wasn't about a birthday party. It never was. It was about Noah. Noah. The man I loved with every inch of my being. The man who worked his hands raw fixing cars during the day and read finance books at night. The man who made me pancakes when I was sad and told me I deserved the world, even when we couldn't afford it. They never gave him a chance. The day I brought him home to meet my parents, my mother greeted him like he was delivering groceries. My father asked him if he planned to stay in that line of work. Meredith outright laughed when she saw his car, a beat-up '99 Civic he rebuilt himself. They had money and titles and taste. Noah had integrity, ambition, and kindness. Guess which one they value more? When we got engaged, I invited them all to a small dinner. Nothing fancy. Just family. They didn't show. Instead, Meredith called me the next day and said, "You'll regret this. You're marrying below your worth." I married him anyway, in a courthouse ceremony, with just 2 friends and the judge. My wedding dress was borrowed. The bouquet? A handful of wildflowers Noah picked himself. It was the happiest day of my life. But my family saw it as betrayal. Since then, they've made their disapproval a full-time performance. No congratulations. No visit to our little apartment. No call when Noah opened his own garage. So when Mom banned me from her birthday party, it wasn't a surprise. But it still hurt. Because even after all the judgment, part of me had still hoped, naively, that blood meant something. That she'd remember I was her daughter, not a headline to manage. I didn't cry that night. Not right away. I folded the rest of the laundry. I ate chili with Noah. We talked about the day like nothing had happened. But when he went to shower, I sat on the kitchen floor and stared at my phone. The family group chat buzzed with messages about the party. I wasn't even in it. I stared at my reflection in the oven door, and I whispered the truth out loud. They don't want me anymore. Noah came out and found me sitting there.
He didn't ask.
He just sat beside me and held my hand. I'm sorry, he said. I looked at him. The man they said wasn't enough. And in that moment, something inside me hardened. Not broken, just different. They didn't want me at that table?
Fine.
I'd make sure they never forgot I wasn't there. And that was the beginning of everything. When your family decides you're not good enough, it doesn't happen with a single event. It happens slowly, like 100 tiny cuts you're expected to smile through. After Mom's birthday party, I told myself I'd move on. Focus on my life with Noah. Let them live in their carefully curated world while I built something real. But that's not how shame works, not when it comes from the people who raised you. It started with silence. I'd call and get one-word answers. Messages went unread for days. Eventually, they just stopped trying. Then came the public erasure. That Christmas, Meredith posted a family photo. Everyone was there, my parents, cousins, aunts, uncles. I recognized the house, the tree, the ugly angel topper we used every year. But something was off. I zoomed in. There was a tiny gap between my cousin Rachel and the fireplace, like someone had been standing there. That someone was me. I remembered that day, how I had shown up with a tray of cookies, trying to extend an olive branch. We took that photo right after. They had cropped me out. No text. No explanation. Just a clean cut. Like I'd never been there at all. Noah saw me staring at the screen. He reached over and quietly closed my laptop. You don't need their approval, he said. But it wasn't approval I wanted. It was belonging. A mother's warmth. A father's pride. Instead, I got humiliation. Once, I tried to visit when my mom was hosting a women's charity brunch. I brought flowers. She answered the door, saw Noah beside me, and stepped outside, shutting it behind her like we were Jehovah's Witnesses. This isn't a good time, she whispered harshly, eyes darting toward the guests inside. Can't you respect boundaries? I handed her the bouquet. She didn't even thank me. On the ride home, I cried in the passenger seat. Noah didn't say a word. He just held my hand until the tears stopped. I started shrinking after that. Stopped calling. Skipped family events. Let them forget me the way they wanted. But Noah, he never let me forget who I was. While I sank into sadness, he worked harder than I'd ever seen. He opened his own shop, Barrett Auto and Fleet, fixing not just cars but city buses and school vans. It started small, but his reputation grew fast. People trusted him. They liked that he was honest and fair. He hired his first employee, then another. Soon, we moved out of the cramped apartment and into a cozy little house on the edge of town. It wasn't fancy, but it had a front porch and a tiny garden, and it was ours. One night, I came home to find him setting the table with takeout and flowers. What's the occasion? I asked. He grinned. We just got our first contract with the city. Maintenance for the entire fleet. We're legit, Savannah. I looked at him, grimy hands, tired eyes, soft smile, and I saw everything my family refused to see. A good man. Not rich, not polished, but strong, loyal, self-made. I hugged him and cried into his shoulder. But this time, it wasn't sadness. It was pride. Still, I'd be lying if I said the pain ever fully disappeared. Every time I opened social media, Meredith was there, bragging about her newest handbag, her charity galas, her perfect husband, who'd cheated twice already, by the way. She never mentioned me. I was her invisible sister, the one who ran off with a mechanic. But I watched, quietly, until one day I saw a post that stopped me cold. It was a formal invitation. A photo of my mother in a gold dress, standing in front of a ballroom. Join us for a night to remember. Susan Pierce turned 60.
Public.
Glamorous. Designed to impress. And I wasn't invited. Again. I stared at the screen, heart thudding. I hadn't spoken to Mom in nearly a year. She hadn't called, hadn't checked in. Didn't even know we'd bought a home. She didn't care. But here she was, putting on a show. And suddenly I didn't feel sad anymore. I felt clear. They wanted to erase me? Let them try. Because I had something they didn't. Real love. And I was about to remind them exactly what they gave up. They say revenge is loud. Explosive. The kind of thing that leaves people stunned in its wake.
But mine?
It was quiet. Beautiful. Wrapped in gold and memory. After Meredith's post about Mom's 60th birthday blew up online, I spent 2 days going back and forth, asking myself if I should just let it go. But something about the way they kept pretending I didn't exist, it made me feel like I needed to remind them that I did. Not out of bitterness. Out of truth. I wasn't the lost daughter they imagined. I hadn't failed. I hadn't married the wrong man. I had chosen myself. And Noah. And together, we had built a life that deserved to be seen. So instead of crashing the party or sending some angry message, I chose something different. I chose grace with teeth. I reached out to a local artisan who specialized in custom jewelry, handmade, not mass-produced. We talked for hours about what I wanted. I need something that makes a statement, I told her, without saying a single word. What we created was nothing short of stunning. A memory locket, gold-plated, polished smooth, shaped like a teardrop. Inside, I placed a black and white photo of my mother holding me as a baby. I was wrapped in a pink blanket, her hair up in curlers, no makeup, just
Mom.
the way I remembered her before everything became about image. On the outside, I had a small line engraved in delicate script, to the woman who taught me what love should never feel like. And on the back, the coordinates of her childhood home, where she grew up poor, barefoot in Vermont fields, before she learned to care more about status than softness. I also enclosed a folded note. Simple. Honest. Dear Mom, I won't be at your party. Not because I didn't want to be, but because you made it clear I'm not welcome. I'm the daughter who chose love over legacy. The daughter you erased from photos, from holidays, from your life. I hope this locket reminds you there was a time when you held me without judgment. And maybe, just maybe, that memory will feel warmer than your ballroom full of strangers. Savannah. Noah saw it before I sealed the envelope. You sure you would do this? He asked gently. I've never been more sure, I said. Then, with his help, I arranged a private courier service, clean-cut man in a suit, gloves, white envelope box, to hand-deliver the gift to the party at exactly 8:15 p.m. I didn't ask for photos or confirmation. I just waited. That night, we stayed home, made pasta, played cards. It was peaceful, but the storm was already brewing on the other side of town. Around 9:30, Meredith's Instagram went silent. No more pose photos. No more boomerangs of champagne glasses. And then, unexpectedly, one blurry video popped up in her stories. My mother, in a shimmering gold dress, sitting at the head of a long table surrounded by guests. A white box in her hands. She opened it slowly, with everyone watching. The room had that artificial hush, when something isn't right but no one knows what to say. She lifted the locket. Read the engraving. She blinked once. Then again. And in that moment her face cracked. Not in rage. Not in embarrassment. But something deeper. Regret. Someone off camera asked, "Who sent that?" She whispered, almost too low for the mic. Savannah. The video cut off. No more updates. No more hashtags. Just digital silence. The next morning, I woke up to a voicemail. Not from Meredith. Not from my mom. But from my father.
His voice was low.
Irritated. That was cruel, Savannah. Your mother hasn't stopped crying since your little stunt. What did you expect, sending something like that? You've made your point. Next time, be more mature. And stop trying to make a scene. I sat there staring at my phone.
Cruel?
I had given her a gift more honest than anything that party could offer. Not a designer purse. Not a speech about her being a queen. But a mirror. One she didn't want to look into. I deleted the voicemail. No reply. No explanation. Because there was nothing left to say. Later that evening, I walked out onto our porch. The sun was setting. Noah joined me, 2 mugs of tea in hand. He wrapped an arm around me, and we stood there in silence. I think that was the first time I felt free, I said quietly. Because you finally told the truth? He asked. I nodded. Because I didn't need to be angry to do it. He smiled. And just like that, I realized something I hadn't before. I didn't need revenge that destroyed them. I needed peace that excluded them. And that, I already had. There wasn't some dramatic confrontation. No screaming match. No final showdown. The truth is, when people push you out long enough, there's no door left to slam shut. You just walk away quietly. And that's exactly what I did. I'm Savannah Pierce, and this is the day I stopped waiting for love from people who only knew how to offer conditions. 3 weeks passed after the party. No thank you. No apology. Just silence. Not the kind that's peaceful, but the kind that screams everything you need to know. They got my message. They just didn't want to face what it meant. But someone did show up. Meredith. On a Sunday morning, her silver BMW pulled into our driveway like thunder on a clear day. Noah was at the shop. I was in the garden, barefoot, watering tomatoes. She stepped out, perfectly styled in heels too expensive for dirt roads. I didn't even stand up. She crossed her arms, sunglasses still on. "You humiliated Mom," she said. I looked up slowly. Did she say that? Or did you? Meredith huffed. "You know what? This victim complex you've got." "Stop," I said calmly. "Just stop." She went quiet. I rose, dusted the soil from my hands, and looked her dead in the eye. I didn't send that locket to hurt her. I sent it because I needed to stop pretending we were still a family. Meredith blinked, caught off guard. "I spent years apologizing for loving someone you all deemed unworthy. For choosing a life that made me happy instead of putting on some perfect little show." She scoffed. "You think this life is perfect?" "No," I said. "But it's mine. And it's real." Which is more than I can say for anything at that party. Meredith shifted. For a second, just a second, something cracked behind her expression. Jealousy? Regret? I don't know. And honestly, I didn't care anymore. "I don't hate any of you," I said softly. "But I'm done trying to earn love that should have been given freely." She didn't reply, just got back in the car and drove off without another word. And that was the last time I saw any of them. That evening, I sat with Noah on the porch as the sun dipped low. I had something in my lap, a thick, cream-colored envelope with gold ink. My mother's handwriting on the front. Savannah. Inside was a letter. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't love. It was a justification. "I hope one day you understand that I was only trying to protect you. Life isn't kind to women who marry down. You could have had more. You still could. But you chose this. So, I suppose this is the life you want." I folded the letter slowly. It was the last piece I needed to let go. No ownership. No remorse. Just an excuse wrapped in superiority. Noah reached over and took my hand. "What did she say?" he asked. "Nothing that changes anything." I walked inside and dropped the letter into the fireplace. Watched the flames take it. Watched the past burn away. A few days later, Noah surprised me. A weekend cabin in the woods. No service. Just quiet. Just us. He brought a bottle of champagne and a small velvet box. I looked at him, stunned.
"Noah?"
He grinned.
"No, not that."
"Open it." Inside was a delicate silver band, engraved with the words, "Forever." Even without them. Tears welled in my eyes. I didn't need a second wedding. I didn't need a crowd or a white dress. I had everything I needed in the man who chose me without conditions. And in that cabin, by the fireplace, wrapped in a blanket and love, I whispered something I'd never said out loud before. "I'm finally free." I sent one final thing to my mother that year. Not a message. Not a gift. Just a change of address notice. With my new last name, Savannah Barrett. I never heard from them again. And I stopped hoping I would. Because I realized something every girl who grows up trying to earn love from cold people eventually learns. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is building a joyful life they'll never be part of. And that's exactly what I did. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Your support means everything. If this story touched you or made you think, please subscribe to our channel for more real, powerful stories.